The cold was merciless that night, sweeping through the quiet suburban streets like a relentless predator. Snowflakes fell like shards of glass, and the wind cut through every crack and crevice, making even the bravest animals shiver uncontrollably. In the dim glow of her small bedroom, 12-year-old Emma pressed her face against the frost-covered window, her breath fogging the glass. She had noticed them hours ago, two small shapes curled up in the alley behind her house, shaking violently, their fur matted with ice. Most people would have walked by, claiming the night was too dangerous, the responsibility too heavy, but not Emma. Her heart refused to look away. By the time she convinced herself to go outside, the temperature had plunged even further. Every step she took toward the alley felt like walking through a wall of icy needles. The dogs were tiny, fragile-looking, and their teeth chattered with a fear that pierced Emma's chest. She crouched down carefully, speaking in soft, soothing tones, trying to coax them closer. It was slow at first. They recoiled at every movement, every sound. But hunger and desperation finally overcame fear. Emma wrapped her coat around them and carried them home, ignoring the sting of the cold on her own skin. She set up blankets in the living room, built a small makeshift bed near the heater, and gave them warm water and scraps of food from the kitchen. For hours, she sat there, watching their tiny bodies gradually relax, their shivers turning into gentle sighs. Her parents were asleep, oblivious to the life or death risk happening in their own house. Emma felt a mix of triumph and fear. Triumph for saving the dogs, fear of the consequences if anyone found out she had taken them without permission. The night passed slowly, with her holding one of the trembling dogs in her lap while the other nestled beside her on the couch. It was a night of quiet heroism, the kind that leaves no headlines, no recognition, just the steady, healing warmth of human kindness. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Every act of compassion deserves to be celebrated. By morning, the dogs were awake, tails wagging hesitantly as they explored their new sanctuary. Emma felt a swell of joy in her chest, a sense of accomplishment that warmed her from the inside out. She had done something meaningful, something that mattered. But that fragile sense of safety shattered like glass when the sound of sirens pierced the crisp winter air. The flashing lights reflected in her living room windows, and within moments, officers were surrounding the house. Panic gripped her. Emma had read stories about police involvement with animals before, but she never imagined it would happen to her. She clutched the dogs to her chest, feeling the heat of their bodies against the icy fear rising in her own veins. Through the frosted windows, she saw officers moving cautiously, their voices low but firm over megaphones, demanding she open the door. Her mind raced. What would happen to her? Would they take the dogs away? Would she be in trouble? Every scenario felt terrifyingly real. Her parents woke to the chaos, confusion and worry etched on their faces. They were stunned to see the flashing lights, the uniformed officers, and Emma holding two trembling animals in her arms. The reality of the situation hit all of them at once, like a cold wave. Officers asked questions, explaining that someone had reported stray dogs in the neighborhood, and that it was considered a matter of animal safety. Emma's father tried to reason calmly, explaining that she had acted out of compassion, but the officers insisted on following protocol. It was a surreal, heart-wrenching scene, the kind that makes you question the rigidity of rules when human empathy is at play. Through the tension, Emma never let go of the dogs. She whispered to them, stroked their fur, and spoke words of comfort, her courage growing even as fear threatened to paralyze her. Neighbors began to gather, some curious, others sympathetic, watching a young girl hold onto the only creatures she had saved from the freezing night. The scene felt cinematic, like a moment suspended between chaos and hope. Every eye on Emma saw bravery in its purest form, a child acting against the odds, driven not by self-interest, but by love and instinctive empathy. Eventually, an officer approached cautiously, asking Emma to bring the dogs outside for inspection. Her hands shook, but she complied, placing the dogs gently on the snow-covered lawn. The dogs, sensing the tension, stayed close to Emma's legs, unwilling to leave the warmth and safety they had found. The officers examined them, murmuring to each other, and after what felt like an eternity, a senior officer finally spoke. He recognized the instinctive act of kindness, the undeniable fact that Emma had saved these dogs from imminent death. Instead of reprimanding her, he instructed the team to bring animal welfare officers to ensure the dogs were healthy, giving Emma a small, cautious nod of approval. Relief washed over her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Emma watched anxiously as the dogs were examined, their bodies being checked for hypothermia and frostbite. It was a tense hour, each second dragging painfully as she feared the worst. But as the veterinarian smiled and assured her that the dogs were recovering well, tears streamed down Emma's cheeks. She realized that her small act of courage had saved lives, and that sometimes bravery comes not from battlefields or headlines, but from quiet decisions in the dark of night. The incident drew attention from neighbors and the local community. Many offered support, bringing blankets, dog food, and words of encouragement. Social media posts praising Emma's courage went viral, showing images of a young girl hugging two tiny, rescued lives against the harshness of winter. But more importantly, the experience taught her family, the police, and everyone watching a lesson in empathy. The idea that rules matter, but compassion matters even more. As days passed, Emma spent every moment with the dogs, who had been named Frost and Ember. Their recovery was gradual, but their spirits lifted with every wag of their tails and every soft whine of trust directed at her. Emma's own growth was undeniable. She had discovered a resilience and moral courage within herself that even adults sometimes fail to exhibit. It was a reminder that heroism has no age limit, and sometimes the smallest voices make the biggest difference. Emma's story resonated deeply with viewers and readers alike. People were moved by the juxtaposition of fear and hope, of cold and warmth, of human courage meeting animal vulnerability. It became more than just a story about dogs or police. It was a story about what it means to act with empathy in the face of potential consequences. Emma never sought recognition, yet she inspired countless people to see the world through a lens of compassion and understanding. Before the story ends, I want to ask you to comment below if this story touched your heart, or if it reminded you of a time when kindness made a real difference in your life. Let's celebrate those moments together. Emma's actions continued to ripple beyond her neighborhood. Schools invited her to speak about empathy, kindness, and responsibility. Animal welfare groups recognized her bravery and encouraged others to look after those who cannot speak for themselves. Through it all, she remained humble, insisting that anyone would have done the same, though everyone who met her knew better. True courage, she had shown, is not about grand gestures, but about responding to what is right, even when no one is watching. Finally, the community celebrated Emma not just for rescuing two dogs, but for reminding everyone that every life matters. Frost and Ember thrived in their new home, the warmth of Emma's heart extending beyond herself. And though the night of terror and police sirens would never be forgotten, it became a story of hope, bravery, and the extraordinary power of compassion. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Every click helps spread the message that kindness can change lives, and that sometimes the smallest acts create the largest waves of love. In the end, Emma's story is a testament to the idea that courage isn't always loud, that heroism doesn't always wear a cape, and that even in the coldest nights, warmth and hope can prevail. The world, for all its rules and regulations, had made room for a child's heart, and in doing so, it reminded us all that a single act of love can echo far beyond what we can imagine.